Hello and welcome to Bin Crisis. I am your humble host, Flynn Lawlight, and we are back with the podcast. It has been another little break here, but we've brought on more guests. So it's not a two-man show this week. With me, as always, my co-host Ash. How are you doing, good sir?
Well, that little break can be put down to myself and doing very adult things like buying a house, so very stressful and not much gaming involved, but obviously jumping back into Expedition 33, that's it's nice to actually refreshing to get back into some gaming, that's for sure.
That game became my personality for a week. And with us, again, I think this is your third or fourth show now with us, Matt. Welcome
I
in.
think it's third, yeah. Hi, nice to see you again.
Yeah, I was joking with Ash earlier today. It's like, anytime we need someone on the show just to fill air, we bring you on because you can just talk forever. I think we had a 2-3 hour Pokemon show. And it could have gone a lot longer. Joining us for the first time is KNT Elixar. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's nice to be back in the country. Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you all, gents, for being here today. So this is Project TCG Part 1. We're talking Digimon and Pokémon TCGs. Ash here is our resident newbie at this. I've played various card games, and the other two boys, they have done a tournament circuit a hell of a lot more. But as we do with these shows, every time we have a new guest, Alexa, what is your gaming journey? How did it start for you? It doesn't have to just be card games, just gaming in general.
So for me, my first console was the original Xbox. As a kid, I've always grown up as an Xbox household, and I played a little bit of fighting games super casually, but like Smash Brawl was my first actual platform fighter, and then I kind of learned about Melee and started taking Brawl a bit more seriously, and then Smash 4 came out, and I kind of ended up working as a TO because there were no local scenes around me, so I got in by just setting up a scene. I was in year 8, so hella young. But yeah, that was kind of my journey into TOing is where I started getting really involved with community gaming and stuff like that. Thought I was the niceness at Halo, but as more and more games came out, it's like, I'm kind of washed. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of fighting games and platform fighters for years. Played Vanguard when it came out, and played in the first Nats, and that was kind of my really big jump into card games because like everyone, I played Playground Yu-Gi-Oh, but the real big jump in was Vanguard. Spent a hell of a lot of money because that game is not cheap. And then went to uni and swore off card games pretty much. Completely ignored Digimon when it came out during the pandemic. And it was until they tried to get me in when the All Force starter deck came out, but I don't care about All Force. Demon's my guy, but I've never consumed any media that has All Force in it. So I was like, Flame Dramon. And they put Flame Dramon in the game, I'll be there. And BT8 happened.
Yeah. It's like Armors for the first time. It's like, yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much my journey. I still speedrun. I did a stint of a lot of speedrunning. I want to get back into it. I've just been kind of busy with life things, moved halfway across the country, bought a house, lost my job, bounced around, got a new job. So it's been fun. Somewhere along the way, put together a pretty nifty YouTube community and gotten to do some cool things. And hopefully we'll continue to do more cool things.
Yeah, we've been really lucky with the podcast where I'll come across someone randomly somehow and it's like, hey, we got a podcast, do you want to jump on? And everyone has basically gone, yeah, sure, why not? And yeah, we've been very lucky. But yeah, let's dive in. Ash, as our resident newbie for card games, anything you want to start us off with? And also, welcome in everyone in chat.
Like you just mentioned there, the cost that goes into it is what kind of swore me off because I started kind of getting into the Pokemon. I obviously as a child I was into the Pokemon card games, but you were into Pokemon anything essentially. Anything that had the Pokemon label on it, you gotta have it. But when I was younger, I collected cards, but I obviously didn't play the game. I didn't truly understand the actual trading card element of it. It was just to collect shiny cards. And And then about 2016, I believe, I kind of started to get back into it and actually playing. Not like seriously. I didn't do like any events. I didn't go to any kind of clubs or anything. I just played super casually with not just with Paul, but my friend Luke and a few others. And yeah, I enjoy it, but it's one of those I know you can sink some really good money in it, especially if you get really into it and do it at tournament level. And I kind of had to step away from that because I know what I'm like. It's one
Yeah.
of those you get hyper focused and then just throw your money at it. And
Yeah,
I can
you
see
never
someone
got
giving
into the bling aspect of it, luckily.
Yeah, yeah. I felt the pull and I quickly got away from it just before I got pulled into it and into that like black hole that is Pokemon.
I don't think it's that much of a black hole.
Except for the rotations. Except for your
yeah.
rotations.
That's the first step of
That's
knowledge.
my throwback for Pokemon is the fact it
No.
rotates.
I'll actually be a really big defender of Pokemon for this, in comparison to every other TCG that's kind of available. So
Ooh.
it's quite interesting if you look at for example, Limitless, which is a really good resource for Pokemon decks, tournament results, and everything else. You can see obviously like a breakdown of the cost of decks at the moment. So we recently had NAIC, so the North American International Championships. So Gardevoir being the winning deck. I've got the stats up now. It was won by Isaiah Bradner. His deck cost $76. Obviously, it could be a bit more if you wanted to bling out the deck with max rarity or full arts or whatever. But I'm looking at another result here as well for Toedscool EX and Ogerpon. That deck costs $54 to build, so probably about £45, I'd say, give or take. It's really accessible. We do have rotation every April, so Pokemon's rotation works on a basis of so at the bottom left of the card you've got a letter block, so it's either G, H, whatever, and every year they will usually bump one letter off of the rotation. So you lose some cards each year. Generally speaking, picking up the trainers and stuff you lose is going to cost you maybe like 10-15 quid if you're going for bottom rarity to keep up to date. So once you're in, it's not actually that bad. Also, Pokemon puts out a lot of good product in terms of like league battle decks, which are usually themed around current meta, usually like tier 0, tier 1, like the Dragapult League battle deck, I think was $24.99 retail, and it gave you
as well, Mad P. Like
yeah, the Mew deck the Mew deck was my first league battle deck. I very much enjoyed playing with that, but what's really nice is it gives you such a massive amount of resources for decks that it works with other decks. You can easily break it down. In terms to upgrade the current league battle deck they've put out a Dragapult, I think you're probably going to have to spend maybe an extra tenner. That's it. So you can get a fully competitive deck ready for the competitive circuit about $34.99 when you start considering product for that. It's collecting that is the biggest. I spend too much money on Pokemon stuff in general. So
yeah, it is also the different thing with Pokemon. They do reprints a lot, whereas Digimon we've had one reprint set.
Yeah, we're getting our.
And that's only because we complained that Japan was getting it and we wasn't. But the draw for me for Digimon is the case of I can run something from BT1, the first set, and every now and then make it viable. And we're on our 21st set, main set currently, and it's a case of every card I own, I can, outside of bans and restrictions, I can run in something new. It's nothing gets invalidated, which does cause a power vacuum for particular decks. Gallimon, I'm looking at you. Mr. Digimon, a lot of the memes are, it's the Omnimon and Gallimon card game because they get new cards every set, if not multiple cards a set.
I think that's what's really interesting about like Pikachu in like Pokemon, like hearing Pokemon players like TCG, VGC, and Go talk about different Pokemon that are just like running their circuits. It was really funny to see like some absolutely useless Scrimbloumon in VGC is now like an actual tyrant in TCG, and like the other way around. I remember seeing Spraggles, the Pokemon Unite caster, complain that Urshifu's in a really bad spot. It's like, man, I just don't think Waterbear can cut it. I can see Wolflick foaming at the mouth. I'm like, yeah, like, you really have to be careful what you say in Pokemon before you get sparked out by someone that plays a different game.
yeah, I completely agree. Among Us is well, Among Us earlier in the year for VG was running absolute tirade through results. Little mushroom pokeball, little shit was just like causing spore issues for everyone. Wolfie, one of the more famous VG players, was running it in pretty much every team for a while. Not someone you'd expect. You'd expect to see more Pikachu's and Charizards and everything else. I don't think I've seen a competitive team with Charizard in period this year. Actually, it's always the obscure.
He had his time though. Like when he was in which one was Dynamax? That was Sword and Shield, right?
Yeah.
Dynamax Charizard. It's not normal.
With Pokemon, is it very similar to when you actually play online the actual video game as well? But I've tried playing a few like online fights with people, and the ones that usually come in and have a party full of legendaries clearly are the people that don't know what they're doing. It's just when you go in and someone has the most obscure Pokemon, you just know they're going to kick your ass. They got something that'll just constantly heal them, and then they just add damage over time on you and just wipe your entire party.
I do remember watching.
The game does the similar thing.
Yeah, I do remember watching one of the video game championships with Snorlax using leftovers and surviving forever.
Well, I think if you had Blissey with leftovers, it would just go forever, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like in response to your question, it's quite interesting because VG is very versatile. They have rotation actually for the VG. It's worth noting before I continue that like I'm not an expert in VG. I'm dabbling my feet with my own content with it, and I've passed.
I love it.
Yeah, like I've passed the judge exam. I've done a couple of bits of research into like IVs, EVs, and a bunch of other complicated stuff recently. But they've got their own regulation that pops up and essentially rotates every. It was every few months a while ago, but I think we're on like regulation H for the season now. Might be coming up to regulation.
We've gone back a regulation as well.
Yeah, and with those regulations, they'll put specific rule sets in place to kind of like limit what Pokemon you can have on your team. So you can't just go and have, 6 legendaries and be like, I'm going to go and wipe the floor with you, because that would remove the element of balance and competitive play out of the game. They try and keep it fresh by limiting what your team structure can be, which is quite interesting. So at the moment,
right now it's 2.5 legendaries. It's double restricted, and then you've got a bunch of Pokemon that aren't restricted but can one-shot through Protect. You go, not restricted, by the way. This is fair and balanced. This is the same as the Pikachu I brought to the fight.
Yeah, exactly. It's worth noting as well that my involvement with VG has always been centered around meme mons, as I like to call it. Lord Quackers, massive shout out, my shiny blue Psyduck. No idea how to make it work in a valid team or whatever. But yeah.
But he's there for support.
I don't know if it's the same with Digimon, but what's really, really nice about Pokemon is like everyone's got their favorites.
Very much so.
Someone's got the most obscure favorite in the world. I used to have a colleague. Their favorite Pokemon was Grubbin of all Pokemon. And it's just like great, wonderful, love that for you. Not for me though. But it's really cool because, as I said, don't know if it's the same with Digimon, but you can play the TCG for such a long period of time. I get kind of like attached to the decks that I build, and certain Pokemon will become more likely to be a favorite than they were previously. I found a really, really recent love for Dusknoir through playing Bombzard, as I call it. And I found a recent love for Shaman, and also, even though it's not in like the meta, or it's not in current TCG formats, I've seen some really beautiful Guzzlord cards recently.
Man. I used to, my friend Luke used to play Guzzlord. I hated playing against that card.
This was during the Sun and Moon era of the card game.
About that, yeah.
Because I had a Lunala Naganadel build. So energy acceleration to do massive psychic damage.
Yeah. You eat lots of energy and then throw stupid damage. Yeah.
The Ultra Beasts for me, I always forget are real things. Like that is like I played every Pokemon game all the way up until Black and White 2 was the first one I didn't finish, and then Sun and Moon is where I officially checked out. Like I was in uni and I was like, oh, maybe I just don't like Pokemon anymore. And then the Switch games came out.
I found that I did the same. I played all of them, and then I for some reason skipped Black and White. And it was there Black and White 2 as well.
Yeah.
I didn't play those.
It's fantastic, genuinely.
And actually, Ultra Sun and Moon, and obviously the Ultra variants as well. I didn't play those. I kind of come back in at Sword and Shield.
Yeah, like not to go on a tirade, but resident Pokemon fan number one. So my guilty confession for a lot of people, and a lot of the younger people, like 10 years younger than me, get quite upset at this. I don't think Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, or Sun and Moon in general, were particularly great in the way they paced out the adventure.
Yeah.
You know, you get to the second island, and the first half of that is the same Pokemon you saw on the first island. There's a very little variety. And considering there's a lot of change in Sun and Moon, you're not doing the gyms anymore, you've got the island challenges. It's already kind of a I feel it's already kind of at a disadvantage because it's trying to change something with a lack of variety, and it makes a lot of people who, like us, played previously, kind of disengage for a while. I've been told, just break through the barrier, you know, it'll be fine, and I've just never got around to it. And also as well, like I'd be careful what you say about Black and White, because where everyone back in our day absolutely hated Gen 5, there are a lot of Gen 5 purists who are a lot younger than us, and actually now our age as well, actually, for context, it's like 32, 33 in my case. It's really grown on them throughout the years, and a lot of people will absolutely shaft you for slating Gen 5 in any capacity. I recently played Black and White, and I loved it.
Yeah, this is a different discussion when you talk about the video game side of Digimon. It's like, yeah, so what do you want to play? Do you want to play a Persona style game? Do you want to play a Hatch and Ray style game? Do you want to play a Brawler? Do you want to play this? We've tried everything. We will find something you like, and you will zone in and make it your personality for as long as it can. Because, like, Digimon Survive came out. It's a visual novel with some tactic elements. But that game can scar the living shit out of you, because if you go down the bad path, within 6 hours of the game, you will see a human getting eaten by a Digimon.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get that shit elsewhere.
Like,
That's nuts.
yeah, I can see what you say about that. But like, they tried to change so much of Sun and Moon that kind of did go against them. But like, Legends.
Yeah,
That-
Legends
Legends
Arceus
very
is
good
peak
example of
Pokemon to
them
me.
completely
Nothing can beat
changing
it.
The old formula, and it worked. They actually made a game that's really good. What's your thoughts on that?
The hype is real there, Faye. Time Stranger.
About Legends Arceus. Also Arceus, whatever. You know.
Yeah.
I don't
say
care.
Pronounce it how you want.
I'm Arceus for me. That's how I say it. But I absolutely loved that game. I think the interesting part and what made that work so well, people had been wanting an open world Pokemon adventure for quite some time. It really did nail the open world aspect. Performance issues aside, I think it's probably one of my favorite ventures into Pokemon. Being able to go and sneak up on things, they made the world rather threatening. It was always engaging. You know, I remember when I first brewed up that game and went sneaking up to what I thought was a Rapidash, just a really big Rapidash in the wild. And it turns around and it's seen me. It's like level 40. Its eyes are glowing red, and it just comes for me. And like it was terrifying. You know, there's a lot of really engaging parts of Arceus that make the world really beautiful. And quite relaxing as well. I don't know how people feel about this, but I feel like Pokemon Legends Arceus is a cozy game. Is the way I actually see it. It's relaxing. You go out, catch as many Pokemon as you want to, and it's quite interesting. It dealt with some kind of I want to say it dealt with darker themes. That's not true. I have really bad flashbacks to
You
the
said
final
about
boss.
the threatening themes, like if you go up against a big enemy, and I really like how they handled that, because you know, the original like Pokemon games when they came out, and you were watching the anime, and you watched, I think it was like episode 3 where Ash gets his ass kicked by a big group of Spearow and Pikachu as well, and you play the game, and like your Pokemon, if your team gets wiped out, it's like, oh, I run to the Pokemon Center and heal them up. I'm like, what's stopping that Pokemon turning around and kicking your ass? And then, of course, there's Pokemon Legends. That Pokemon will kick your ass.
They somehow became tame over time. Huh? There's Pokemon Wars, and now every Pokemon is docile to humans. Okay.
Picking up on something that Drawstep just put in chat as well, like, I think that... So I watched Beth play the entirety of Digimon Cyber Sleuth. And I very much enjoyed watching that. I enjoyed watching her go through the game. I remember other than there was this one period, she was like, I can't remember all the Digimon's names. It's been a very long time. I've been out of that loop for a very long time.
It's something more than you're there.
I'm going to call it Poopdramon because I can't remember. But basically just farming these like shiny Poopmons.
Oh, Platinum Numemons.
There we go. Nice. Sorry to anyone who's a Digimon enthusiast in the
Yeah,
podcast, but
we are finally getting him as a card this next set.
other than that, it was a great time, and I think Digimon's really good with narrative and telling deep dark stories, and I really like that. And people have always kind of like said Digimon is Pokemon's grown up brother, da 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 da, and I've heard things like that thrown around. But as I say, going back to Drawstep just said in the chat, Pokemon does a very good job of storytelling without any voice acting. I completely agree with that, and Pokemon also does a really good job of putting out lore that is somewhat times and somewhat deep and dark through exposition from environment, from boss fights, and the story is usually told in a very different way. Um, I take for example X and Y with Lysandra. Trying to destroy the world because he's beautiful, because it's beautiful and it's going to be beautiful, and it's like it's nuts. There's moments in Pokemon like that exist. I think going back to kind of what you were saying a minute ago, Paul, though, Digimon has always in games had this really, really kind of like dark element that can be brought into it, which I think Pokemon are probably. I don't think they're like afraid to touch it. You read some of those Pokedex entries and you're like, shit.
Oh yeah, the Pokedex entries is where it gets really fucking dark.
Yeah,
Whereas
like,
Digimon, they'll visually show you it. Pokemon, you have to read the Japanese translations. Go, so this just follows kids around, hoping that they die. Okay.
yeah, or like there's the cutest little Drifloon who's like, hey, I'm just a balloon and it's gonna carry your kids away.
That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, and Cubone wears its mother's skull.
Yeah, that's the Cubo one.
Pokemon's
Definitely.
dark lore feels very like, oh, we know a YouTuber's gonna put this together, and that's how people are gonna find
Yeah.
out this lore. Whereas Digimon just beats you over the head with it. It's like, accept your problems. Family's
Yeah.
not going well.
You know, like the latest Digimon movie, O2 at the beginning, just there's one scene in it, like, you look at the cartoon, it's like, oh, this kid just looks like he's down in like and realize, no, he's been starved, it's snowing outside, he's thrown out onto the balcony, and within a week, he's now hitting the Digimon with a baseball bat after the Digimon rips out its own eye. Okay. It gets extremely dark, extremely weird. But let's go back to some TCG shenanigans. What is it, Elixir, that drew you in for Digimon specifically?
So the memory system, I think, is the thing that most people like talk about for the game. I think it's super unique.
Yeah.
Being punished for overspending and stuff like that. But also, at the time in BTA, I kind of saw some parallels coming from Vanguard, because Vanguard was really the only card game that properly gripped me. I did try a little bit of Magic, tried a little bit of Hearthstone, never really like gelled with them, even very, very fringe amounts of Pokemon. But like, it was the kind of way that the attack structure happens, and the way that you kind of like go through the main phase and all the fluidity that like comes from there, and kind of like the creativity that comes out of that. That was what really, really drew me in. Obviously, having Vmon turn into Flamedramon was also dopamine. But the thing that made me stick with it was definitely like the memory system. And then when I started playing a couple of other colors, so I started blue predominantly, and a little bit of red. The second deck I ever bought was a red hybrid core. And I played into like a security control style deck when I was starting. So like, I got a lot of patience and like learning when to kind of like push for damage and like burst. But I think it was when I started playing purple a little bit, that's where I really like fell in love with the game, because like, actions that I like, I discarded a card 3 turns ago, and then suddenly, whoops, needed that.
Yeah, purple punishes you if you misplay most, I think.
Yeah,
So-
so like that was fun.
As someone who's like, my exposure to the Digimon TCG is having like 3 or 4 friends who are absolutely obsessed with it, and knowing that there's some really, really pretty art cards of Gilmon, Angelwomon, and a few other bits.
Oh, yeah.
But naturally, so just to explain to me as a complete noob, you're talking about red and like colors, same as energy. Good comparison.
If you think like Magic now, where certain colors have a certain identity, like purple is very much discarding and graveyard interaction, red is your aggro, blue is your draw, green is your I want suspend the board and do some landy sort of shenanigans, and yellow is my security and more control, and I'm reducing your power into oblivion. Now white is the poster boy of we're just doing something weird.
Yeah,
I
like, a
see.
lot of the time when someone flips an egg, you can kind of, like now especially because everything's archetypal, you can kind of tell what the line is supposed to look like, but especially when things were a lot more toolboxy, some colors are still very toolboxy, you could still get an idea of what you were playing into. Like if you play into blue, they're either going to try and send stuff to the bottom of the deck or back to hand as their removal, as opposed to red and purple that try and delete, or just like, yeah, destroy, like target destruction. And even then, the different colors have their different identities, where red is all about being bigger, doing this like massive thing of damage to a lot of their removals based on how much power you have, whereas black is based on play cost because they kind of like treat that as like the robotic kind of side of things, and then purple is based on level. And usually their levels scale based on how much trash they have, so you're usually being incredibly greedy to then like play for scaling effects. So it's really cool that you can kind of like see why different players gravitate to certain colors. Some decks do
Yeah.
turn into flop, but
Yeah.
it's
And
quite
we have some
interesting.
decks that are more rainbow in nature as well, so they have a bit of everything, so it becomes more of a toolbox deck. Right, I want to stop you being able to make a check, so I'm going to reduce how many checks you can make a turn. Oh, your power's a bit higher than I can block right now? I'll reduce it.
yeah, and it's kind of interesting because I know like Pokemon has messed around with like Charizard's been what, 3 different colors, 4 different colors. Like he's been a fire type, dark type, like stuff like that. One of the cool things about Digimon is you can evolve directly over names a lot now. So you could be building like a fully red core and then suddenly turn into a black top end just because you can evolve over the name, because they decided to. This one isn't Ty's Agumon from the show. This is a Agumon from season 5 with Marcus, but that's still Agumon and Greymon, so they can still mash that pile together if you want. So you get some really weird lines where they do jump all over the place with colors, which is quite fun.
Yeah, Pokemon's a lot more strict with that kind of stuff. So like we've recently had Destined Rivals, which is a Team Rocket centric set for the most part. There's a couple of like, so it's like Team Rocket's Raticate or Rattata.
And that's to evolve over that specific name.
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah.
It locks you in, and it really limits the kind of like deck building, because I've seen a couple of bits and I'm like, that would be viable if this wasn't locked here. It's quite interesting to like hear about Digimon, because I've played Magic, I play Commander casually with precons and whatnot, because Magic for me, like I look at the cost of that, I'm just like, not a chance. Like quite
Yeah.
frankly, especially for Commander as well. I've seen some.
Yeah, after just picking up my Final Fantasy 14 Commander deck, it's like, yeah, this is the last thing I'm buying for quite a while. I
Yeah.
bought it because it's 14, and I'm happy there.
Yeah, we had a little casual game of that, didn't we? The Commander deck. And
Yeah.
actually, I enjoy playing the Magic.
Yeah,
I just want the
Magic's really
SpongeBob
enjoyable.
counterspell.
Yeah.
I just really want the SpongeBob collaboration. That's it. I don't care about anything else in that game, but that
Is that
counterspell
a
makes me
thing?
laugh. Yeah, it's the newest.
That's-
I don't know if it's the newest now, but it was one of the newest like collaboration sets that they've done, and it's just all shitpost. It's like 5 screen caps of like dumb shit from SpongeBob. And it's like,
Oh, yeah, the secret layer
Very
stuff for
random.
SpongeBob. Yeah, Magic has been doing its own wacky, weird stuff, but like me, Ash, and Matt, all of us play a bit of Final Fantasy 14, so it's one of those things like, look at this card art, and we can all just recognize and go, ooh, yes, pretty.
Yeah, it's been really hard recently because Beth, my wife, she's a massive Final Fantasy fan. Period. We did have pre-orders for all 4 Commander decks and some other stuff, but they did unfortunately fall through due to circumstances beyond our control. But like Beth's literally throughout the whole Magic marketing reveal just seen cards, particularly of Vivi, and just been like,
Vivi's
I literally
adorable.
just seen her tear up in the corner. I'm just like, this is going to be an expensive. This is going to be expensive. We haven't actually. Luckily, we our good friend managed to get us some promos of the movies and stuff, which made her day. But like, yeah, I'm trying to source some stuff that, in regards to Magic, because obviously we were talking about like colors representing the different types. So like Magic has the same sort of thing as we kind of discussed.
Beautiful
That
little
is
unit.
a stunning card. Yeah, like it's quite interesting because if I'm not mistaken, One Piece runs off of a kind of similar kind of engine, if you will. But Magic runs off the same.
Certain banner systems share commonality, considering they have 6, 7 different game systems on the go now. So you get some similarities, but each one is unique to itself. After
Yeah.
recently attempting the Gundam judge exam and my Digimon brain going, okay, this interaction should work this way, and it's like, no. Fuck. Why have you changed Bandai? Yeah, it gets really weird with itself.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting because you guys are talking archetypes, and it's like I look at Pokemon. Pokemon's obviously used as an energy system, so your energy gets attached for a turn. You either use it's basically usually a mix of the Pokemon's energy type and then colorless energy, which means an energy of any type. I don't think there's any kind of correlation between Pokemon energy type versus what role they play in terms of like whether it's control, aggro, whatever. It's all just kind of mixed and match. And it's quite unique in that regard, I feel. But yeah, I've wanted to dabble in One Piece. I've got a really good friend who gives me all of the secret rares that she pulls that I know I like. Massive shout out to Stacy there. But
For the most
she gives me
part,
loads of stuff.
Bandai are really good at making good-looking cards.
Yeah,
I have to give it that. Like,
expensive.
there's a War Greymon in the current set that's an uncommon, but its artwork just goes hard.
Yeah, like I think Bandai's card design is really nice. I'm not a massive fan, if I'm honest, of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
So actually, hear me out. I am a massive fan of Dragon Ball. I absolutely love Dragon Ball, but I'm not a fan of the artwork for the card game. It's not really pulled to me at all.
Yeah, some of the
It
cards
feels very
kind of look wacky.
Dokkan Battle mobile game kind of art. That was like the gripe I kind of had with it. One Piece, my beef with it is like coming from
It's
Digimon,
almost
like,
Yu-Gi-Oh! These days for Dragon Ball without much text is on the
I
card.
didn't even notice that. Yeah, that's rough. That's Vanguard.
Because, like, for Digimon, the reason I got into it was I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For a while, going to locals. My games would be over so quick. They would be 30, 35 minutes, or waiting for the next round. And a buddy was like, well, I've got a Digimon deck, I'm going to want a game. And that game would last until round end. It's like, this is a much better system. I can actually play a fucking game. And it grew from there, but yeah, the memory system being unique, the fact that it's a stack system as well, which is probably the other really unique part of every card you have in your sources interacts with your main body more. So especially, I'm a major Digimon player, so a lot of my shtick is ILT Digivolve you, which is taking the top card and going down. So I'm reducing your evolution stage, and I can destroy shit. But for a meme deck ages ago, I took the Gallantmon engine, so I could still attack with Blitz, which allows you to attack when memories pass through the opponent's side. So I'd go from a red base into my Diaboromon stack up top, and it was just this weird thing where people go, how are you getting that working? It's just seeing these dumb combinations just come out of nowhere, and there's a lot of creative individuality that you can make in a deck.
Sometimes to a fault.
Yeah.
Getting lost, you can get lost in the sauce in this game because sometimes there's a little too much freedom. I am guilty of that, but I also am a content creator, so I'm allowed to do
Yeah.
things. I just need it to work on camera one time, and that's your problem forever.
Yeah, why do Digimon loop for me, getting out to work in a game and going, have you got a response? No, I am looping my entire deck. I'm making my Digimon stronger and stronger until you just concede, because you know I've got game if I draw 2 cards.
Yeah, we have. So one of our players has his invite to Nats already. He's super consistent on Bloom. Like the whole idea is based. Like he more or less hits you with like a Jujutsu Kaisen domain expansion. Like he'll push up a 5 on 1 memory. Or like, well, surely he can't kill me from here. And then suddenly the board ends on 5 bodies, and he hits you for 4 out of your 5 life in 1 turn. You go, ah, and that's just like average. You just expect it at this point.
Yeah.
He would put a card that statistically no other player has found value in. It's like that if your opponent has a suspended body, gain 2 memory at the start of turn, which is, you know, stacks kind of crazy if you've got a memory set that says 3, so you could be doing 5, like he's doing donuts on you with 1 memory. Sometimes he starts the game off 5. That also has a secondary effect, so if he just swings a level 5, he can just gotcha rip the top 3 cards, and if he hits a 6, he evolves for free, and sometimes he will just go, well, I don't actually have a line here, but if I do enough things and then swing this and it hits a 6, you lose the game on the spot, and he would just get top 8s or stuff like that. Someone would try his list, and it would never.
Never work.
They would never get to it the way he does. He's also a Diaboromon player, and on the way home from him getting his Nats invite, and he was like, "Oh, I can just stick around on Diaboromon for the rest of the season." We put together the most not normal pile of all time, and then he brought it to locals and did the thing on camera, and everyone's been like, "Where's the list?" I'm like, "You don't want this." It's a thing where there's the Sukamons, funny enough, the poop guys, are black and yellow and super low cost. So he would use those with the Armadillomon engine to DNA and Tobacco, which is black yellow, put a Diaboromon on top of that, and then slam Piedmon, the like Jester guy from season 1, because he's yellow purple. Use the end of turn DNA inherit again to go into Chaosmon, who is a black yellow level 6. So you'd have a protected guy that guarantees an ace into a second ace that then goes into a level 7. If you try and remove it, instead of getting the memory refund, it spits out both bodies and can hit, you know, -8 spread across 4 things, and then play out an extra Diaboromon token, then delete something. So if you had the audacity to answer his giant overflowing battery, it would spit out 5 bodies. Because
I love it.
Shaco also has partition for the 2 things. You would get, if you killed it, you would get boss monster, poop, plus something else, and you would just die on the spot. And he'd go, "Thanks," and then he would do it again.
Yeah, since Elixar brought up Ace Digimon there, this is where there's sort of a correlation between both game systems. With Pokemon, you have your EX, GX's tag team stuff. So bigger body, more risk of running it. With Digimon, we have Ace Digimon that when they leave the field properly, by game rule, you lose memory. So you can just lose a turn if your opponent has a response.
Yeah. Is very funny.
But yeah.
But it's like a Ponzi scheme. Like, the play costs are reduced, but the overflow basically puts it to what the play cost would have been if it was a normal card. So you're kind of just going like that, "Man, I hope you don't have an answer to this, and I will cheese this out." Yeah. It can evolve for free on your opponent's turn during the attack step. So it's kind of like where the mind games come in for a lot of the stuff. And it's just a Ponzi scheme. If you don't get punished, that shit was free.
I've done the crazy stack before. I put my opponent to 10 memory, and I had a stack with 3 aces in it. They managed to get... they just passed turn. I think they dropped Death X because it was the only thing I had on board. Just killed my stack and just like, "Oh, I still my turn." Because the amount of overflow, just like, you just give me a free deletion. Yeah? And it's like, I don't care if I lose, I would just do it out for the shits and giggles.
I've done Overflow 11 and still lost the game. Like, gained 11 memory back and still lost the game.
You two have dialed up the Digimon to 11 to a point that you could be speaking Hungarian right now, and it has the similar effect of me sitting here going.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is like
I was gonna say it's like listening to Beth work from home with a different language.
Yeah.
But I kind of get it from from a TCG perspective. I can understand.
Like I said, it's very much
some
like
degree.
doing a GX EX. It's like he's got a bit more strength. It's a reaction card because you can digivolve in your opponent's turn when they attack. So it's sort of like, it's cheap and free, but you lose it, you're getting punished. Like, again, with a tag team, if that's the only Pokemon you got, and, you know, you're losing free price cards if it dies.
I'm not sure.
2018, man.
I'm not sure if it was that you threw me in the deep end, but when I came with you that one time up to Duke's to have a little gaming session on Digimon, like, my experience of, like, kind of playing Magic is that, like, obviously it can get more technical, but like from a beginner's point of view, yes, it's easy to understand the rules and get into it. Same with Pokemon. Digimon here, however, what you show, I ended up with a migraine.
Yeah,
so much to take in.
Well, we was meant to hang out for me to teach you the deck, and that didn't happen. So I threw him in with a blue-green Imperial, just like, you just want to make a blue level 4, a green level 4, and you merge them into this boy, and you attack your opponent. That's your game plan. That's as much as I can tell you. People around you will guide you, since it's your first time coming up.
You handed me the raw minerals and ingredients, and went, "Build me a computer."
I could have handed you my Warren.
But it is really interesting in that way that it, like, in theory, it is very simple, but the complexity. I feel like the complexity starts a lot sooner. Like it's like if you have steps into a pool, the complexity, like the water is way higher up. Like it's basically to the stairs, whereas like some games you can like take the ladder down and then dip your feet in, and that's where the complexity starts. You can really like get into the pool, whereas Digimon you could probably slip and fall on the stairs and just like end up in the water.
That's a good way to describe it.
But yeah, moving on then. Both you guys have done tournament circuits at this point for your respective card games. And before we dive into how those are gone, I brought up with Matt before the show, Pokemon has just had a rule revision for end of term proceedings. Do you think that's a benefit or a hindrance to your community? Especially in the competitive formats.
It's interesting. So I'm not on the fence. I actually have I do have an opinion, and I'm going to give it to you because that's why we're here. I can see both sides of the argument. So basically, Pokemon works on a 0, 1, 2, 3 turn basis. So when time is called after your 50 minutes, whoever's turn it is turn 0, and then it goes next person, 2, 3, and the game ends. For those who don't play Pokemon, so we avoid confusing people. So Pokemon consists of 6 prizes. You have to take all 6 prizes to win the game, and if you haven't taken all 6 prizes by the end of those 3 turns, then that game is considered a tie. So let's say you won game 1, game 2's gone to time, and there's no result because you won game 1 and game 2 was a tie. The person who won game 1 wins overall because it's a best of 3 format. What's quite interesting about the way the rules have changed for the coming seasons, starting for the 2026 season, is they're now saying that when time is called, the person who's currently playing, that is their final turn. That is turn 0, and then your opponent gets a turn. That's it. Period. That's the end of the game. And they're going to be putting a time limit of 10 minutes on that, which might sound obscene, and it is obscene in my opinion. The idea of having this extra 10 minutes is no one should ever hit that. And I think it did say in the documentation actually that they're going to be monitoring people for so play. There's some benefits. There's benefits to organizers. So I'm for those who don't know, I'm kind of on both sides of things. I recently started up my own thing with some friends in my home city, and from an organizer point of view, I think it's really beneficial, and I think it's really good. I've been to regionals and internats where we've been told, Masters, you will have no lunch break today, and you're just, oh, piss, like it's not good, right? And ultimately what happens is we'll have our 50 minutes, and you got to think, if you've got 9 rounds in a day, let's just round that up, if we included time to actually take as long as it was meant to a 9-hour day, right? 10-hour day even, whatever. It's ludicrous that it takes that long, but what's ended up happening, so it was really bad actually at Birmingham, and also EUIC, the European Internationals, is we'd get to the end of it, time would be called. I remember looking up at the clock, which was in -32 at one point, and I know there was a game still being played as far as 15 minutes in to turn 3s of time. Keep in mind, the 50 minutes exists for you to finish 3 games, right? How you spend 15 minutes taking essentially 2 turns each is ludicrous. You do have an issue where current players. Actually, I'm going to go on a tangent if I carry on down that path. So I'm going to go with that. So that in itself is an inherent problem for the game and for organizers, because their events go on a lot longer. I judged a League Cup last year. We started it at like 1. I didn't go home until 12:30 in the morning because it just took so long. And there's so many games that do go to time. So I think putting that hard limit of 10 minutes in is a good thing. I think that in terms for organizers, it benefits them structuring their events more. For players, I don't think it solves the inherent problem of making the draw rate. By draw rate, I mean the amount of ties throughout the day. I don't feel like that brings it down. I feel it will leave more games unresolved than what there is currently, because the amount of times I've won a game in turn 3 of time is ludicrous. It's been a definitive result. I think if you've ended up in time, usually it is in game 3, 9 times out of 10, and it's just going to make the tie rate a lot worse. It's going to make Swiss feel worse. So from a player perspective, I can see the gripes. From an organizer perspective, I think it's great. It's also good for new players, I think. So new players who come in, they'll finish their, they get blasted by some like awesome player, in 20 minutes or whatever, or like 2 games just done. And then not only are they waiting for the half hour for the next next bunch of games to finish, but then they're also waiting half the time. It just doesn't feel good, can put people off. So as I said, there's benefits to that side. Players, I think, are going to dislike it. I personally have one piece of advice for them if they're listening, and I'll get probably a lot of heat. Play faster. No, I'm sorry. Is that simple? Play faster. 50 minutes is not unrealistic. People, there's a massive issue, and I imagine it's the same in Digimon. Actually, there's a massive issue with players when it comes to actually actively slow playing, for a tactical advantage. I went against 2 regional top 8ers who will go unnamed in the past year. One of them took, I think it was 11 minutes to prize check and play their turn. They were going first. They couldn't play a supporter. It took 11 minutes. And you can tell them to speed up, and they're like, yeah, cool, that's fine, and you can call a judge, and a judge is eyeing over them, and they're just kind of stood there, and you're like, shit, man. People use that to advantage. They'll win game 1, draw out game 2, whatever. Time is a really precious thing to debate, and I think if people played faster, you would definitely get through those 3 games. There's a reason why you have increased time in top cuts to give you more of a thought process, because that's where it really, really matters. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a bit of a controversial one. My fix for it would have just been, at the end of the 3 turns, put a time limit on the 3 turns of that 10 minutes, and whoever's ahead on prizes wins that game. That's what I would have done. It's simple, but also I can see how that would have also felt bad. I don't think there's a perfect resolution for anyone.
Tiebreak is always kind of hard, especially because inherently they'll favor one play style over another. Like control sometimes wins out. Obviously aggro is favored in that scenario that you suggest, because someone that gets to attack first can just play for a quick 2-prizer and just go, I'm gonna turtle up for the rest of the game, stuff like that. I'm also team just play faster. I play control decks, I play aggro decks, I play decks that play the nebulous term of mid-range, and more often when I go to time, it's almost never me. It's always someone else that I've sat there. I don't understand how people can play a game relatively serious and just not be thinking during their opponent's turn. How have you not at least made the opening decisions of your turn whilst your opponent's doing their thing? I've sometimes played my entire turn in my head before seeing the first card hit the table during my opponent's thing, and it's always the hand shufflers. They're sitting there hand shuffling, hoping that if they shuffle a little bit harder, the out will suddenly appear from their deck, even though we saw them bottom deck it 2 turns ago. It is not coming back, and just bro, just scoop. When I go to time, it's because my opponent has, it's because I maybe lost game 1 and then turbo through game 2, and it's hey man, we went to a draw, you might have won this if you just played quicker in any of the game.
I think it's a bit different at locals. So when it comes to locals, that's my testing ground for new decks, right? Inherently, when you're learning new decks, it does take longer, and you do overanalyze your turns and everything else. So I would say at locals, I've definitely been responsible if they're playing a familiar deck for taking things to time. I can say that. But when I go to things like regionals, championships, league cups, and everything else, I'm always choosing a deck that I've locked in, I've got experience with, because I'm familiar with the deck. That automatically gives me a bit of an extra advantage, right? It was so infuriating. I had a league cup sometime in the last 2 months, and I don't want to make it too obvious, but it was so frustrating because we were in game 1. So this game 1 ended with 28 minutes being off the clock, right? Keep in mind, I'm actually playing a really, really complicated deck. Going back to your story from earlier, I'm playing something called Crocs, which just isn't meta. I've been working on the list privately. It was my own private list for the last 8 months. Very, very proud I managed to make a top cut with it, but I'll get back to that later. Absolutely infuriating because it's kind of a bit of a mix between control and also mid-range, I suppose. But it 26, I think it was 26 or 28 minutes, and I'd been keeping an eye on time. My turns totaled to, I think it was 6.5 minutes of that time, and this person was playing a deck they've been playing for ages. Absolutely riled me up. And I don't know if it's the same with Digimon, but there's a massive problem with calling people out on, hey, can you play faster? Can you, I really want to make it to game 3, or you can try any polite mannerisms. Yeah, sure, we'll do that. and then they continue.
Yeah.
I've had events where judges have literally watched the game and they've been like, "You need to speed up," but then there's no warning issued, and I'm just like,
Yeah, so at my locals at Dukes, we don't get it too much. We'll get it isolated incidents here and there. But it's usually a case of because I'm the local TO for Dukes, it's a case of if you think someone's still playing, just let me know. I can come over, just go, hey, come on. Don't take the piss.
Yeah.
We're here to a specific time.
Slow
But-
play is a really weird one. It's
Yeah.
really hard to call sometimes. Like,
Like, our TRM for Digimon does state if a single decision takes over a minute, that can be classified as slow play.
I take
Pokemon
it like
has some rules.
if it was someone amateur like me, I take my time because
Yeah.
I'm still learning.
But at a
And-
local
and
level,
I'm trying
that's
to gauge
different.
Who's learning, who's just going
Yeah.
slow because they're new to it, or they do it deliberately.
Yeah.
But
You
even
can tell
if you're
Sidham-
new and you're
yeah.
playing in a regional, I feel like if you sit down and just so many people aren't social during card game. It's crazy that like you think that a game that
know.
requires you to sit across from another human being and interact for 50+ minutes might force you to be social in some like if you just sat down like, hey, yeah, you know, it's my first regional, I'm really new to the game, so sorry if I take a little bit of time. So many people are like, that's calm, bro. We
Yeah.
can do this.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a tournament. I'm not going to let you take back misplays, but that's calm. If you need to take an extra minute, it's fine. If it gets really excessive, I'll try and help you speed up. But like, so many people will just sit there, say nothing, and then just waste your time. Like,
Yeah. With two cards in their hand, by the way.
Yeah, it's so upsetting.
It sounds like Digimon starting to become like a chess game. You know, you just shake hands, stare at each other, don't exchange words.
Certain decks, it can feel like you're playing chess, which is how everything
Yeah.
kicks off.
The best is those games are mad quick. The people
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
at least,
both know what
yeah.
each
Actually,
other's
they got the
cards do.
timer, haven't they? They actually have a set amount of time to do their turn in, which
Yeah.
maybe.
So going
Dude,
back
sometimes my
to
friends play and they don't say words for 30 minutes and they played 4 games.
Yeah, just to reply to Ashquid, like in regards to that, I'm actually a massive advocate for chess clocks in Pokemon, or something similar. And then, you know, the counter argument that I get to that all the time is like, oh, well, good luck having all of the judge staff monitor who didn't hit the clock at what time. Remember to hit the clock or get penalized, you dickhead. It's that simple. Like, I'm sorry, like, for me, dude, I legitimately got so self-conscious when I was learning Crocs at some point, and also pissed off with like 1 or 2 instances. I downloaded a chess clock on my phone and I took it to locals and I made my opponent sit there and use that chess clock. I get no shame. I was like, yeah.
Dude, if you can remember to draw your card at the start of your turn, you can remember to touch that bloody clock at the end of your turn.
Just touch it before you draw a card. It's not
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, and to get back to the original point, I don't think the rule change helps players. The problem isn't the turn situation. The problem with the tie rate is it is people need to play faster. That's my take.
So, for Digimon, we have 2 end of turn procedures, whether you're playing Swiss or if it's a top cut event. With Swiss, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, same as it was for Pokemon, and a 5-minute timer. Whichever hits first, that's end of game state. Very much like Pokemon, for you to win, you have to take all of your opponent's security, equivalent to prize cards, and attack directly. It's a case of most players will know I can't get there by the time I get my second turn. If your opponent's also, I'm not trying to just call it a draw now, you can just walk away there. You know neither of you are going to win. When it gets into top cuts, it gets a bit silly and crazy sometimes, because every now and then they'll tweak the top cut rules, and it'll be a case of who has the most security, who has the most cards in hand, who has the most cards left in deck, who has the most Digitamas left in deck, who has this, who has that, and it's like this list of 7 different things, and for the last Worlds, it was a case of, if it goes down all the way down there, it is a coin flip.
Yeah, but obviously, you know, if honestly
Yeah.
at that point the judge should just be allowed to shoot one of you.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
you managed to engineer a game state where you're tied on everything, the judge should be able to take you out back. You deserve nothing. But
Hey,
Yeah,
Gasbon, welcome in, man.
it's a real problem if you're like your Crocs example. We have a lot of specialists that play semi-popular decks that are like really pilot specific, and they've had that problem as well. Where it's like I know I'm not in a position to win this game, but I'm playing against a feral animal that could throw this from orbit, and I think I can win it. And you waste more. Like if you just scooped, you beat them in game 3. But the amount of stories where it's like, I was on an undefeated run, but I lost to a dog because I didn't scoop in game 1 fast enough, or I didn't scoop game 2 fast enough to just win in game 3. I think when you're playing a rogue deck, you have to accept that no matter how fast you play, someone's gonna have to. They'll be like, "Oh, I've never seen this scenario. You're gonna have to give me more time." Like, no, you know what these cards do. You've seen them resolve. Please.
I think that's what you're saying about how long it takes for people. Like the argument was me being an amateur. Well, I wouldn't go to an like. I take it there's certain ranks when it comes to like these events. This stuff like that's amateur friendly, and yes, you could be quite
It's weird.
kind with the timing. But
Digimon's
then
a
when it
bit
comes to,
different.
Like, the ranks, like I assume that the higher when it comes to tournament play that you are, that you should know your cards. You shouldn't be taking. Oh no, I need to understand how this is happening. Well, really,
Yeah, you should know what your. It's so frustrating when people don't know what their cards do. Like,
That's
fair
the
enough.
one.
If I'm playing some rogue shit and you've never seen my cards before, and you do actually physically have to reach across the table and go, "Can I read that, please?" Valid.
Yeah.
I brought some jank to the
that's
table.
understandable.
But
Yeah.
when you don't know what your cards do and you have a linear game plan, and I've seen, like, I have planned out your turn and I die this turn, and I'm sitting there just waiting for it to happen. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I died 5 minutes ago.
Kill me already.
That's so frustrating.
Get over and done with.
You don't want to scoop because you're like but if they throw this, I win the game next turn. You sit there and lose 10 minutes to a game you already knew you lost as your opponent dribbles their way to game 1, and you're like, all right, fine, I should have scooped 5 minutes ago, but just in case, you're an animal. And like, sometimes we're really bad for it. Sometimes like you have that bated breath and you're like, they can throw this. And when they do this with Digimon as well, because it's memory, when they've spent the memory and you're like, there's no way I die anymore, and you just let that and then you kill them next turn. It's brilliant. But the problem, because there's the chance they could throw, you don't scoop and you lose in time.
Yeah.
It's so irritating.
You're just like, have they got in their own head enough now? Yes.
I think going back to what you were asking, Ash, I think it's kind of different in terms of the level of play that you're at. So like with Pokemon, you've got your average locals, you've got league challenges, league cups, regionals, internets, and then worlds. Right? I would personally say league challenge for newbies, dude. If a person turns up to a league challenge and they're like, "Cool, this is my first ever time playing Pokemon," I'm just like, "You're chill, bro. That's cool. It's like 15 championship points. So I don't care." Yeah, and ultimately it's fine. League cups are a bit more serious. They're worth a few more points. I'm always up for having a conversation with my opponent across the table and being like, "Cool, this, that, the other." And actually, something that I've been told I need to do less because it does affect my results. I'll sit there and coach them through what to play against me, in these events because they're new, and ultimately the game grows. And the wonderful thing about these games, kind of tying back to what Elixar was saying earlier, the wonderful thing about these games, these are social games. These are social games, and your communities grow through these interactions, right? I would say though, and something, this might be a controversial opinion, like I really like the fact and hate the fact at the same time that anyone can go to a Pokemon regional, period. Like you can just go sign up, you can have never played before, and you can rock up. And I love it because it's great for growing the community, and you get these social interactions and everything else. But also you're then mixing complete noobs, with all the love in the world, complete noobs and people who want to come and experience this game with people who are actually really, really grafting to go to Worlds. And the graft to Worlds is not easy. It is one of the hardest, most time-committing things possible. And having someone sit across the table from you and being like, hey, I don't know what my own deck does, and it's like, okay, that would piss me off. Like, I'll just be frank. But sitting there being like, I don't know what bloody Big Bite on Totodile does, because no one knows until they have it. I'm like, cool, okay, I'm a bit more patient. I think with regionals, I think that you should be at a certain level of play points, because Pokemon have two systems: championship points and play points. Play points are acquired from going to locals and stuff like that before you're able to go to a regional. That's just my take, and probably very unpopular, because it's not fun for a new player to sit there across the board from someone who goes to these events consistently, get their ass completely handed to them because they want to take it seriously because they want Worlds, and also feel bad when they're told, hey, this isn't the time for that. because that person who's saying that, you know, if you went to their locals, they'd give you the time of day. They'd sit, they'd talk across you, they'd take you through plays. They'd, you know, it's probably the same with Digimon locals as well. They'd give you cards, they'd coach you through whatever deck, they'd give you suggestions, they'd give you build recommendations. Regionals for me, that's not a time for that, right? That, that's just my take. I don't know if Digimon's the same.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of. So we've got different formats. You've got locals, you know, locals. You've got Evo Cups, which are effectively glorified locals with a different prize pool. You did have store champs, which are effectively Evo Cups. Evo
Yeah.
Cups and used to be kind of also the Ultimate Cups, which are effectively just regionals, but reskinned with a different prize pool. And you've got your regionals, and now regionals and store regionals, which are different. Store regionals are capped to 32 or 64, but still ran in a local store. But you could get your ticket to Nats from that, and then its top 2 from Nats goes to Worlds. Like, the interesting thing about anyone being able to go to any of those, bar Nats now being invite based, is if you do get someone that is completely new round 1, on the one hand, usually free W. The only thing is when you open slow and they're like a new player on meta, and you're like, I could still get donkey rolled, and like it doesn't matter that they're new. There's stuff like that that's really frustrating, but also most of the time it's like free round 1, happy to chill and kind of go through things, but I know my resistances are shot as a result. So
Yeah.
happy to chat. You know, sometimes I will actually go post game, like if it's a quick one, I'll go through some post game interactions in hopes that they will save my resistances 3 rounds later. But
Yeah.
no, I'm kind of the same. Like, there is a beauty in Swiss. Swiss will have it. So I usually tell people if it's a regional or if it's their first regional, relax. By round 3, you'll be playing people on similar records to you, so you'll be playing people around your skill level. For locals, it's
Yeah.
the same. Like, by round 1, crapshoot. Round 2, low-key kind of a crapshoot. By round 3, you should be playing someone that's playing, like maybe you brought a silly deck or something that's not quite as powerful. You'll be playing other people that probably have bought silly decks as well, because they also have gotten donkey rolled by meta, and now you're ending up with the people playing similar powered decks to you. And I think, as someone that comes from fighting games at double elim, where you can you know, be 50th seed and play the 49th seed round 1, you have to play the number 1 seed round 2 for your free trip to losers, where next loss and you're out. Swiss is beautiful in that way that you do get to play for a little bit longer, and you will eventually find people of your level. Double elim is cutthroat. You travel across the country, you die in 3 rounds.
Yeah, luckily we don't have a double elim format. I've played it in Beyblade because Beyblade X has a surprisingly good competitive circuit across the UK. And a double elim is brutal. But yeah, Pokemon doesn't have anything like that. But I want to kind of like not retcon what I said. I want to really enthuse, like you said that you might have some post game interactions and everything. Every single event I go to, my whole ethos is there. I'm there to have fun. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm there to perform, but I'm also there to have fun. And my opponent and I have something in common already, and that's that we both absolutely love Pokemon. Otherwise, we wouldn't be there, right? I always try and sit down with my opponents at the end of the game, and like I'll sit down, talk to them, find out what they love about Pokemon. I'll talk to them about, you know, what made them want to play their deck. They'll ask me about mine, and I think that's really beneficial for the game. And I think at a locals level, particularly, like for people like Ash, you know, it would be really helpful if more people. Pokemon's quite good for it, I will say. Pokemon's phenomenal for it. Sitting down, helping you talk through your deck, talk through plays, what's the next upgrade, what's this, that, the other. I haven't had the same luck playing Magic, if I'm honest. Magic has come across as quite a sweaty place to be.
Depends on the environment, especially where we are based.
Yeah.
One of my local boys at Duke's who plays Magic, he goes to like 4 different stores every week, and Duke's is this is where you can come chill and learn the game. Everywhere else will be running the £4,000-5,000 plus decks and want to just shit over everyone else. Whereas Duke's is like, yeah, just bring a pre-com. You just got to chill for a few hours, man.
Yeah, I think it's the same in a lot of places. Magic is, because it's so well established, I think kind of draws a specific crowd. Yu-Gi-Oh can also be kind of the same. For us with Digimon, we're always we're hyper aware of new people at our local, because we know if you just end up talking to the wrong person first, we may not see you again, or you may have a really lasting impact. Whereas if you get lucky and talk to one of 7 or 8 people, we'll see you. You're cooked. You're one of us now.
Yeah.
Long day for you.
So, I actually do have a question about Digimon. And
Go for it.
This might bring up humor side of the humor side conversation, I guess. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, and I'll ask the two people who do play Digimon here, and then I'm going to ask Ash versus as someone who's gone and played it once. So I think I'll start with you, Elixir. Elixir, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Digimon players' personal hygiene? This is a trick question. You got.
Honestly, I want to say it's closer to like 7 or 8. I have had less than one handful of players that I'm like, yo, what the hell sort of aura was that? Where also, what I perceived as bad, we also transparently do Digimon night the same night as Magic, and Magic is most of the room, and we're in a basement. But I went down to that same basement during the Catan World Championships, and I had a newfound appreciation for the Digimon / Magic bus, and you know what? 7 or 8. Genuinely, I have had very few bad interactions.
8-9 with all of my interaction.
Slightly off topic, but actually on the similar lines. When I was in Japan back in 2023, I went to the Tokyo Game Show, obviously the 2023 Game Show. They have it in English as well as Japanese, but they actually have, please make sure you've had a shower before you've gone in. Yeah. Because they've had so much trouble with people smelling so bad.
I want to touch upon. I'll touch upon that in a minute. There's a reason I'm asking.
Yeah.
Like Paul, you said 8 or 9.
Yes.
Right?
At least my local crowd, we're on the ball with hygiene. But one of my local boys in chat going, better than Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. And Ash, as a first timer to different TCG scenes.
Okay, so obviously I've the Digimon Red Up Dukes. I have been. I think because Pokemon does invite a more kind of wider range, like age range as well. I've noticed. I'm sorry, I'm gonna shit on the Digimon people here, but like there is a small there at the age range of people who play Digimon. And from the fact that Pokemon does kind of draw more casual range of people, that I think the people who play Pokemon somewhat smell better than Digimon.
Cool.
But then you said Magic is even, but then even Magic's even worse. So
Gaspon in chat bringing this up. Konami had to make rules about hygiene for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes, correct. And this is why I'm asking. Because
Yu-Gi-Oh's even worse then.
Pokemon has also had to put rules in their player's handbook about personal hygiene. And I was wondering if it was a bit nicer.
I think we got it in Digimon. I just think it's become a bit of a boilerplate across TCGs. Yeah, especially since, again, Bandai, they run 6-7 different card games, so it's...
Also, Digimon launched during COVID. I think it's in a really unique period where they were like, okay, sure, nobody was doing in-person events when they thought, so like, hey, if you haven't showered in 4 days, you show up to your online regional, no one will know. But when you come to in-person, your ass better wash.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, same man. Like, and that's kind of my take. The reason I ask is like the common joke is like I can't ever play Yu-Gi-Oh because then I'd have to stop showering.
Oh
and
shit!
I wanted to know if the same. I wanted to know if it would like be the same if I came to try and dabble with Digimon. I guess.
To cut you over, I have to bring up Drawstep in chat. He's had to ban remove a player from Yu-Gi for literally shitting themselves.
Yeah, dude.
What the fuck?
There's some. The thing is, it exists in every card game. There was a fucking piss chair. I think it was in Milwaukee for Pokemon at some point, and it's just like, for fuck's sake, man.
Are you telling me that some of these games go on for so long that someone has to void their bowels?
Oh no, there's no excuse. I was just getting a temperature gauge for kind of where Digimon's at in terms of like, responsible.
It's frustrating though, because when you play, like, if I play something that's a control deck, I have to strategically plan my bathroom breaks. At the store regional, I wait for time, and I needed to pee before we sat down. Then we went to time, and then I was like, I was waiting in the line for the bathroom as the pairings dropped, and I saw it was one of my friends. I'm like, I'm making his ass wait.
These card games do go on for so long.
There was an issue with Digimon because we do online regionals as well, and they had an issue with their software where it was 4 to the best of 1 instead of best of 3, and their rounds were 70 minutes.
I casted that regional. That shit was miserable.
I just want to point out. Look, I'm looking at the comment section, and the common theme seems to be Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh players seem to be the
Yeah.
smelliest.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I've met some vile Pokemon players in my time. And also like post-COVID world, I turned into a tiny bit of a germaphobe. So it makes me kind of like uncomfortable. It got to the point like and all my locals are absolutely lovely, and usually the people are quite chill at League Cups. But it's like I'll shuffle my deck, and then I'll ask my opponent, can we cut our own decks? Because I got so sick when I started playing games of just getting sick.
Yeah.
Like quite frankly, you know, but also like some TCG scenes, and I think it's the same for every single game, which is why I was also asking. And also, I know it's a thing in the fighting game community as well. Like it's just like, please,
That's where
is
my
Digimon a
perspective
safe
kinda comes
space?
from. Like I like my perspective. Like I say 7 or 8. Like yeah, sure, I've had some guys like oh stinky, but then I go, I come from Smash. I come from an FGC. Like, I've been in some poverty setups where there's no like aircon because we live in the UK. So and like fighting games, you're like physically moving. Like people sweat buckets playing chess, and like card games are mentally stressful at like a high level, and you do sweat from playing them. But I've played from where people are like having to do physical execution for hours, and like yeah, that's some stinky ass rooms.
I'll tell you what, we're gonna be hitting 29 degrees roughly next week. So any tournaments going on next week, they're gonna smell void.
Usual market locals, we got that going.
Yeah, locals. Dukes and the Acorn is still busted, so we have the door open, and that's as best as we get. But bringing up from you, Matt, back just after COVID sort of let up and card games come back around before I fully quit out Yu-Gi-Oh! I was lucky that the local community down there, shout out to Nick Risdale, running it, all that stuff. It was a case of you don't, for your cut deck, it was a case of your opponent would say, oh, just put the top X cards from the top to bottom. That's the cut. So that way you didn't have to touch each other's decks, and it was a bit more of a fair cut.
I usually go for like a one cut, so I'll literally cut it as close to half as I can find, and I'll just put it on top of that. Like generally, most people are quite chill with it, and I think the reason I asked the question is kind of a double-sided thing. Is I do think people are becoming a lot more conscious in TCGs. I'm really happy to see that people are generally trying to make improvements. And you know, sometimes it just be the way it is. You know, I loved my local geek retreat. It was the nicest place to play. Like it was absolutely awesome. But also there was no air conditioning. Obviously, there's ovens and shit cooking food. And all you've got is essentially an emergency hatch in the back. You can open the roof and the front door open. And if you get a breeze, then, you know, it's lucky. It's like a coin flip. Are you going to get one, yes or no? And sometimes it's kind of like, it just doesn't happen, right? It's just roasting. But, yeah, I think TCGs in general have kind of got a bit of a stigma for personal hygiene reasons. And those of you in chat and listening, I say to you, there are people like us who exist who like to shower once or twice a day. So you can come along to your locals and have a good time. It's going to be fine. So, but yeah, I digress. Pokemon put some rules in place for that a while ago. Pokemon are going through a lot of rule changes at the moment, it seems. So maybe I switch to VG next season.
Yeah, so just to get back to the original topic about large-scale tournaments, what do you guys actually enjoy the most about attending these sort of events? Because I know, Elixar, you have a team that travels.
Yeah, so it's weird, like...
And some of them are in chat, so it's good to bring this up.
For me, now, I treat tournaments as an excuse to meet fans in person. I, unfortunately, control the space as a niche micro-celebrity, so most of the time, I travel to meet people, and also to beat the washed allegations, usually. But there's something really, really fun about it. I love competing. There's hitting something nasty at locals and be like, damn, I'm nice, is great. But like hitting it in a regional to keep your run alive is like the sort of dragon that you chase for ages. And you know, you see people crash out after just having terrible performances. I think like competition reminds me that like, even though Digimon is not blessed with an incredible prize pool, you've got some genuinely talented players that could take their talents to other games and really like make a splash, but they're here using our system, using our cards, and really like showcasing why they are on these top tables. And as someone that usually gets to stream and, you know, record top tables and see this high level play, that's something for me that I get as a unique thing, regardless of how I'm doing. I get to see top level play and get to be kind of part of those moments. So I really love traveling. I love casting. High level competition is just, it's something you really, really can't get anywhere else. And especially in it not being something specifically athletic. I have an athlete background. You know, at the end of the day, card games, there's no like physical limitation that stops you from walking into a regional and walking out with a trophy. Fighting games, there's still some execution that some people, there's just an execution barrier. Sports, obviously, you know, physical genetics and stuff like that. There's something about card games being solely, you know, how you play, how you do, that really like makes you appreciate the storylines of like incredible players. So that's why I travel. Also, people don't give me enough damn respect. I'm nice at this game. I just troll a lot.
I feel the same way. like, yeah, yeah, that's kind of nice, man. Like, I sort of same. You know, I'm kind of similar to you. I come from an athlete background with an emphasis on the eat. You know, large boy over here. But you know, all jokes aside, I really, really, really enjoy regionals, league cups, challenges, and everything else. For me, what's really, really nice is about I enjoy going with. So Beth comes to most events with me, and it's like it's a day out and stuff for us. I love Pokemon, and it's really, really fucking sick to be in the same room with 3,000 people who also absolutely love Pokemon. You'll see people running their decks. They got their little mascot on the mascot on the table and everything like that. You've got the kids. So we've got 3 divisions: junior, seniors, and masters, all of which are really exciting. Someone's just said in chat, high level competition is a drug. I completely agree with that because like locals don't ever hit the spot, and you're always kind of chasing more. You get like this massive dopamine hit from going into a competitive circuit and doing well, and also not doing well. I can see
Timing
Elixar.
intersection. The way
Yeah.
to keep your local scene alive is, you know, after you have your big hit of the booth from competition, you just have to have everyone, like, gentlemen's agree to play some dog shit for the next, like, week and a half. Like, play some proper silly shit. We have a thing in place at Fanboy where all the regulars know after a regional, after something that we've all been grinding for weeks, like, meta shit is off the table for, like, 3 weeks.
You run
I
a
wanna
jank
see-
fest.
I want to see some 50 card pile of things
Oh,
that
that-
barely interact properly together, and let's have
we don't-
let's play some stupid shit. Like
Yeah.
that's how
See,
you
I
keep
love-
the scene alive.
I love that, but we also, from a competitive standpoint, we don't really have that in Pokemon because we go to a League Cup on Saturday. The next one's on Sunday. Like legit,
Yeah.
I've done a double League Cup week, and then I've gone in to do another one literally on a Saturday after. Like we don't get that kind of like break, but like I think coming back from regionals and stuff, like I get it. I think it. I think I started working on Crocs really really hard, like as an off meta deck when I came back from Liverpool, not Liverpool, Birmingham in January. And really just, I sat there, I was like, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm going to play this non-stop. And then I didn't take it to the internationals in February and chose a meta deck and performed piss poor when I should have just taken my little meme deck that I've been doing XYZ on and fucking destroying meta with. But I digress. Going to like regionals and going to internats is a really special feeling for Pokemon. As I said, you got thousands of people there who all feel the same. Internationals are very different than regionals. Thing I really like about going is going with the boys and girls from locals, going with Beth, being able to sit there and talk to everyone like through their day, and like, you know, there's this real sense of, guys, we're all gonna really make day 2. We're gonna do it. We're gonna have a good time, and then obviously people lose. It doesn't go according to plan, and you know, you're all kind of there for each other. The camaraderie is really strong. Similar to yourself, I'll rock up, and you know, EUIC was a bit mental for me this year because I didn't realize kind of how out there some things have become, but it literally got to a point there was like it took me 15 minutes on like the Saturday to walk like 100 meters because it's just like, oh, Smatt, and I'm like, who's that? Hi, you know. And it's that element, that side of things is like kind of nice, you know, and I think that comes more from the TCG side of things as opposed to the Twitch side of things. But like that's really nice. I get to sit down and talk to people and you know, really understand them and have a laugh, and regardless of how you're doing, because you're there for the same reasons, there's kind of this, it is what it is. And you know, me and my I made a friend at Birmingham. You know, it was the game that if either of us lost, we weren't making day 2. And day 2 is really significant for Pokemon because that's when the next side of the competition comes. And you know, we were both just so done. I think it was like round 6 or something, maybe round 5 or 6 of the day. We're just both so done with the situation that we found ourselves in that we just sat there the entire game, just literally memeing. And like I've got autism, and I have autism, or however you want to phrase it, and a bit of ADHD mixed in there. And I suffer from tics occasionally, and I keep them quite under control. I shit you not. I'm sat opposite my opponent, who's sort of on a similar area of the spectrum as me, and we're just ticking non-stop throughout this entire game, laughing each other, having a blast. And it's like, oh, of course you do that. It's like, haha, Radzard, yeah, woo, and like it's just like, and I guess I'll knock you out. Guess you're not making day two. I was like, oh, it's okay. I get to go home. I get to do, and it's like the level of banter and friendliness at Pokemon events is just really, really nice. I get to see friends from all over the world, which feels really, really good. And I get to make friends. That's the big one. We're going back to the social thing.
Yeah.
If you go to these events, you talk to people, you have a good time, you're nice, you're kind, polite, and you're just your genuine self. You make friends, and that's what this is kind of all about for me, man. And this year's going to be a bit different because I'm really pushing for Worlds this year. I really want to go to San Francisco next year. But the core fundamental of going with friends and being there regardless of what happens is a big draw for me. My highest emotional experience of this year, to kind of round this off, I was at EUIC, funnily enough, with Drawstep, who's in chat, right? Drawstep hasn't attended. I think they attended Birmingham with us. Had a miserable time, and they didn't get to play much because they staffed local TCG shop. And I'm already I'm emotionally up here because it's my birthday, right? I'm in the sky. We're really good friends, and they don't get to play very often. And we get to the end of the day, I'm battered. Like, I'm emotionally bad. I'm out. I'm done. And I bump into them. They're just like, got my winning in, and I'm just like, holy shit, what else? And like, you go and watch at their table, and they're just like, cool. If they win, then day two, awesome. And like, everyone's still at the barrier, and you're just looking, just like, it's like you put thumbs up as it happened, and it's just like, no, it didn't, and it's like, I'm just there, both sad and happy at the same time. I've literally got tears in my eyes because I'm just both at the same time the most proud friend for someone who did so well at an internet from our local scene, man. And those moments,
pride is so big.
yeah, they just don't exist in a local level, man.
Yeah. It's
the high is something else.
Yeah. We had store regionals at Dukes a little while back, and we luckily had Elixar co-stream with us so we can have some casting and commentary. When I was watching the VOD back, and anytime one of his buddies was on, it's like, yeah, just seeing the hype.
Yeah.
Or just see someone in the background, it's like, yeah.
I'm really blessed to be in a position as a content creator where if I play badly, I'm a content creator, if it doesn't matter. If I win, I'm nice. But I'm also blessed to have incredibly talented friends. So
yeah,
there's very rarely a regional that we go to where everyone goes, like the meme of like DK and the boys in the car not saying anything as they're driving under the tunnel at just darkness.
Yeah.
We never have that because usually someone topped. Like EU Nats did not go the way we wanted, but Tommy Tricks topped. He got day two. He only lost to the guy that got first place in day one. But then day two bombed out round one is like unfortunate. We saw that it was a matchup on paper he was supposed to win. We're like, yo, he could actually go the whole way. Didn't happen, but we were all so pumped when he day two. We've had a guy win 3 regionals, so like we're in a very great position where even if you scrub out, sometimes we claim people from other locals. We've claimed some of the London guys because we're good friends with them. We claim a player from the Netherlands because he's one of the boys. He started as a podcast fan, and then like we met him in person. He's one of like my friend's favorite players because he's like really well known for a certain Digimon, and got on tops with him. So we knew him, and it's like this like weird double parasocial like friendship thing where we both like fanboy over each other, but then we're also good friends. Like we went and got food in Glasgow together. But like when we're counting our results for like, all right, who's X1, who's XO, there'll be like a guy from the Netherlands is in our calculations of how many of us did well. It's really fun, like, the people that you meet through events like this. So I'm blessed where I usually will run into someone that knows me, and I have a social responsibility to not be tilted and a dickhead, regardless of my mood, if I meet someone that I know. And that happened for me in one of the regionals like 2 years ago, where it's like I was just in a foul mood. I was livid after getting sacked by an absolute dog, one of the worst players I've ever played. And in the next round, someone's like, "Oh, I watched your channel," and we just chatted, and my day was fixed instantly, like on a dime, and just like I'm in a very fortunate situation where I have that. I know people that, you know, maybe they get sacked round 4 and they just have to somehow clutch up for 4 more rounds, or their day is absolutely ruined. Whereas I might meet someone that's like, oh, I'm a big fan. Can you sign a card for me? I'm like, yeah, that makes my day. It's great. And then if, you know, things go badly, I'm going to go find out that one of my friends who hasn't spoken to us all day is actually XO and is about to maybe win the tournament next round. So
Yeah,
it's a really cool feeling.
yeah, I agree. And these dynamics really exist, especially with regional and international level. It's interesting. Do you become friends with people from all across the world? You know, and it's really, really nice. And I have a similar sort of thing. And you know, I've often said to, because like a lot of my locals, they're not like content creators or anything like that. They just play Pokemon, and you know, a lot of them, you know, we've had conversations about how do we deal with Salt, how do we deal with the whole Grumpy. I've just botched my day 2 and it's only round 4. How do I deal with it? It's like, you know, talking about kind of how to have those interactions. It's like you know, we're here for a good time, and they always pick themselves up, and it's great. And I'm kind of with you as well. I was at a mini regional back in February, and it was really I wasn't feeling great. And don't get me wrong, I won the whole thing, so I'm okay with that. But also, I was having a really bad day in terms of concentration and everything else, and just not feeling myself. I traveled, I barely slept, and everything else, just feeling a bit grumpy. And this absolute rando just comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, Smatt, you know, hi, how you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I got you something." And I was just like, "Huh?" You know, and it's like they rock up and they've like 3D printed this like Smatt Plays coin logo with a deck box, and you know, and they're just like, "Oh, this IO," and we ended up talking, and the tournament hadn't started at this point, and then you know we get to, I think it was round 4, and they sit down at the table opposite me. I was like, "Oh, hi," you know, and I was just like, you know, and it's just like they were like, "Oh my god, you know, just really want to take a game off you." I was like, I'm shit. You'll do it. Don't even panic. You know, everything else. And they did. You know, they took a game, and we had a good time. And you know, I think I'm quite blessed in the same situation of having those really nice, wholesome interactions with people in the grand scheme of things. And my advice for people dealing with tilt is like, we're all friends, man. And like, yeah, you might be out of day 2, but you know, draw step is like 1 game away from making day 2, man. And this is like, we got to cheer them on. And you know, also some of our other friends, like you know, Lewis is like going into day 2, and or you know, whatever, and like, oh, that's really cool. You know, in my case, some of my friends are casters for the Pokemon scene. I'm like, dude, we just get to enjoy the weekend and go and sit down and watch it live. Like, it's just a whole atmosphere. And internationals, they bring the Pokemon Center, man. And my wallet, I got a call off my credit card company this year. They were just like, hi, no, legit, man, it was awful. I came home. You can probably, I don't know if you can see Psyduck from the like cropped image in the stream.
No, Psyduck's a bit hidden.
I came home with a Psyduck that's like the size of my torso, bro. I carried that shit home on the tube.
Let's see if I can quickly. Yeah, there's Psyduck, just so people can just.
There you go.
Yeah, it's in there, man. There you go. You know, and I fucking. I brought that shit home on the tube. You know, I got a call day 1. It's like I'm in the Pokemon Center and like I'm overwhelmed. I fucking was, in case that wasn't apparent. And credit card company's like, yeah, we blocked your card. I was like, oh, okay. Why? So I was like, oh yeah, £471. Pokemon Center, and I'm like, yeah. That might be me.
Dude, when I was away on my sabbatical, and I obviously started in Japan, the only reason why I didn't rinse my credit card was from the fact that I had a 40k backpack, and I couldn't be carrying any more weight than that. You know, I would have filled that bag up even more if I could. If I could carry 80k of like Pokemon merchandise, I would.
Never mind that. You had your Final Fantasy whiskies
That's
and
the Final Fan.
yeah. You was a kid in a toy store while he was traveling.
I did. In fact, I did slip. Like Paul is right there. So like, I have a rule of thumb. There is if there's a certain item that like scratches 1 itch, and you know, be it Final Fantasy or Pokemon, I can resist it. But if there's a certain item that scratches 2 itches, and for me, I like my whiskey, and I like Final Fantasy. You put those 2 things into one, I'm fucked. I'm buying it. and they even went, oh, so they did like a whiskey. I got to do the whiskey taste, and they went, oh, which one do you want? I went, all 3. I didn't even hesitate. I'm buying all 3.
Beth's been bollocking me lately because I'm really bad, and I'm going to show you the bag of shame. So I have, these are all fucking heavy. These are all playmats. For those who can't see an image, I'm holding a bag that's easily about 5 kilos of playmats. I have 2 of these. You can only play with 1 playmat at a time. Like, it's getting out of hand. And I get told all the time, and like, I don't know. There was one last thing I actually really wanted to address because before I forget as well, because my brain does this, and I'm wondering if Digimon has the same. Another thing that I really enjoy about League Cups, challenges, and regionals, and like it literally fills my heart with like just so much emotion is we'll rock up and we'll take our juniors and seniors that you see week in and week out, right? And some of these kids, they struggle to read, or they struggle to do maths, or they struggle to do XYZ, right? And you've sat down, you've put time in, you've helped teach them, and you've seen them kind of grow and everything. And like, we've got a kid at our locals who, we went to EUIC and they did really, really well at EUIC, and you get emotional for them, right? And I've got another friend. It's weird calling kids friends, but whatever. They're 13. They just qualified for Worlds, man. And like, I'm just like seeing them come from like starting and going to that. That is another aspect of the community. And
Yeah.
seeing these young people develop who you really care about is like the biggest high for me. If the biggest high from any of these came in, any kids I've interacted with and helped and done that, and I've seen them go on, is probably the one. And I don't know if Digimon has that. If they
It
have
depends on
juniors and seniors.
So we don't have any age brackets at all. You're out here swinging with everyone, which is why it's also really cool when you've got players that you have developed locally, where you've seen them throw from orbit, and you see them in situations where they've learned. Like one of our guys at Glasgow, when it was a best of one, like Clown Fiesta, we all went in. It's like, best of one. It's not respecting our time properly. It is what it is. And then one of our guys was one game. No, he qualified top 16, and then another one who we hadn't really seen all day, who'd just been kind of hovering around X1, just goes, yeah, I'm also in top 16. And we're just like, yo, one of our two tours from locals is in top 16. Bro. Like, we were so happy. Like, we do have like little stories like that, but I think it's definitely based on how much effort you put into your scene. We've got one of our friends is a teacher, so he like deals with that as like his regular thing. He's also really big with the scene. Like, we always want people to get better, and seeing them finally get to play outside of our local is always a really good thing. We always try and see if we can get players to come to UK regionals when they're out. We're like, if you can't come to anything, come to this. Even if you go X3, you're still going to have a good time. You're going to get to meet new people, and that's like the big thing. And
learn more about the game as well.
Like you will deck build for your locals. It's just an inevitability where you're just like, well, I'm going to run into the one player that plays this, and I have space to slot this card, and if I do, it will help me in this matchup. You will.
It's prized.
Yeah,
Twice.
You will see people that have deck built for their locals and what it's like to play a room full of 64 people, a room full of 250 people, 1,000 people. So it's I feel like kind of like what Josh said, going X3 is just a license to change your angle on the day. I came from fighting games. Everyone's got to go O2 at some point. You can't win them all.
Race to the bottom tables, buddy.
But going back to both of your points, like for me, being the TO for the store, organising the tournaments, and just seeing where my local boys, they're the ones who go off and go to like Birmingham and Glasgow, and when I see like, oh shit, Jacob took top 4, or I got like 5 of my boys in the top 16, there's a lot of pride for it. But it's also, as a local scene, at least here in South Wales, I try to organise things along with the 2 other biggest shops. So we have a lot of, well, we're going to run a winter box this weekend, make sure everybody knows, or we try and organise something crazy, just interact. So all our locals, we have a combined, say, 40 to 50 people if we split the 3 locals apart for unique players. So we get to try and combine and shift things around enough that we developed different players, because the main guys of my locals is a lot of Gallantmon we always see, so a lot of Red Aggro. We get to see Hunters a lot currently. We get to see some of the big meta decks because the boys want to practice ready for the next big tournament. Then there'll be like people like me and Gazmon in chat. It's like, I'm bringing this out because I like it. And so we're there bringing in the rogue shit or the wacky stuff or just something that we got excited to build. And that way our local boys have something weird to go against when they go, what the fuck does that card do? Especially if I bring out something like the old reason I was saying about set rotation. There was a card in our 5th set, Shoutmon DX. he, again, Blitz effect swings out a turn, and my entire build is he gets big, he attacks, security just die. And then if I'm lucky, I can regain memory, evo into another guy that also blitzes, and I can potentially one-turn kill. And it's a lot of pride being able to run this community. Like, we don't really have bad eggs. We get people come in maybe just once, as we get any game shop. But we do have this guy, Reese, who comes in. He is very autistic and not as verbal as most people. But he comes in, he has the Imperial Tremont starter deck. He'll come in, he'll play a round or two, and he'll just disappear. But he comes in, he has fun. Anyone who plays against him, they take their time, they make sure that any interactions he might not get right is like, well, if you do this, and we coach him through, just make sure he's having the best time he can. And that's the biggest thing that we can hope for as card game players, is we build our community to be able to help each other.
Yeah, you filter the weirdos, and like, there's sometimes no shame in that. Like, sometimes.
Yeah, if we got a bad egg and it's causing issues, it's a case of, dude, we need to ask you to stop. We've never had to get it, luckily. At least for Digimon, the other card game in the shop might have had other stories. I'm not the one who runs those.
We've come close, and like occasionally, like we probably should have as well. But like it happens, man. Like I think like, you know, if you've got a community that do care about each other, there's nothing that can't be solved. And I don't think that just applies to TCGs, right? Yeah, yeah, that's all I've got to say, man.
Yeah, hobbies are important. And having a community you can develop your hobby around is definitely there. Which is, part of the reason I started Project TCG was to see if we could find something fresh that he can sink his teeth into and get a hobby, get him out of the house, and get something he can gel with.
Well, Ash, if you want to come to locals, I've spun up a new locals. We've got cards. Our community's really good. We give cards to like help build decks, whatever, man. Like, you don't have to worry about the cost of Pokemon on like those Digimon players, right? You know, it's...
I mean, depending on who you ask. Like...
Well, he knows I have your old table here, Matt. It is full of decks. I can just do this and go to Ash, borrow a deck.
I feel like a child in a divorce. You know? Like, no, come with me. No, I've got better places. Yeah.
But as the last bit of the show before we...
Digimon and the mummy's Pokemon.
But yeah, as the last thing, Ash... Any more questions, Ash, before we get to wrap up yet?
No, just this last 20 minutes section, and that's the biggest appeal to me is the community that sits around not just Digimon, Pokemon, but just is the camaraderie.
Camaraderie, yeah.
Sorry, I had to slow that one down before I got tongue-tied. But yes, regardless of what kind of trading card game you play, it's just from the fact that the amount, just that community that is the kind of the appeal. I'm probably not the most social of people, but there is I find that the hardest part of socializing is the actual going to an event, or actually if you, like you said, going to a local and going down to the store. You just think, oh, am I in the mood today? Especially if you just finished work, am I in the mood to be with other people today? But when you get there, you enjoy it, and then afterwards you're like, yeah, I'm kind of glad
because it is very much hanging out with friends. You just talk the shit for a couple of hours, and then you all chill.
Yeah. And I like Ash. Like the one thing I'd say in response, actually, I think Pokemon literally changed my life, and it's gonna sound weird, but Pokemon TCG, and you could probably actually see this. So for context to our listeners, I've known Ash since probably, I think it was 2017, give or take. We've worked together for that long, and I used to be quite withdrawn, reserved. I'm not social. I say I'm not social. I'm quite reserved. I didn't talk much. I'm very, not present. And I hated going out of my way to spend time with people. Pokemon literally changed my life. I went to a pre-release. I sat down, found out people were chill with me just playing Pokemon and being quiet about it. And
kind of just takes from there.
Yeah, we get what you're saying.
Yeah, it changed my life.
Yeah.
It kind of sorry, my computer crashed for a second. I got too excited. No, yeah, it
You
changed my
too
life.
excited lies.
I started talking to people, made friends, and it made me want to go out and socialize with people.
Yeah.
Now you can't shut me up.
Yeah, which is why we bring you onto the show. I think you took at least 75% of the chat in tonight.
It's when you're with other people doing something you all enjoy and you have something in common. You kind of come out your shell and you're able to kind of communicate because you feel comfortable being around those people. Where, like you said, the work to kind of briefly go over it, the work culture that's in a particular company that myself and Smatt worked in was quite toxic and very very cliquey environment. The people you worked with, and it's one of those places like you're not there to make friends, you're there to work. That's it. And yeah, it's a very crappy mindset to have.
All the positives of Pokemon and the positive effects it had on me is leaked into every other aspect of my life. I'm more chatty, I'm sociable, I like going out, I like seeing people. I got promoted at work because I have more confidence. It's had a net positive effect on my life. And,
It does.
And I imagine
Digimon's
Digimon's had the same for you guys.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, for me, like, I did streaming, I did content creation and stuff, but, like, all of my channel growth, like, I got my notification at YouTube Studio. I've been on YouTube for 15 years, of which the 3 years I've lived in Manchester has been 99.9% of my growth being, like, a Digimon content creator. I've gotten to, leave the country to play card games. It's sick. Same sort of thing for me. Me doing all this content stuff is what landed me my newest job and the craziest paycheck I've ever seen, and it's all thanks to Digimon. Fighting games are also inherently social, so I've always had to kind of be social, but it's not go-to. I'm naturally an introvert, but I'm usually the designated extrovert of my group of introverts. Simply because if nobody does anything, we won't get anything done. So
You're the extroverted introvert.
yeah, like, I was head of the volleyball team, I was head of Smash Society, head of esports. I spend my time with a bunch of weird nerds, me included. But somebody's got to get something going, otherwise we're not going to do anything all year. So that's how I kind of like got into stuff like that. But yeah, Digimon's like absolutely changed my life. I've told work, like at several jobs, they can't have my Wednesdays. If I don't make it to Northern Quarter to go play card games, I might end up on national news for crashing out. We were genuine concern when I was I had to take my wife to physio 2 weeks ago, and then we're out of the country. I was like, that if I crash out in Portugal, because I didn't resolve cardboard for a couple of weeks, so it has me in a vice grip. But of all the addictions to have, it's one of the ones that I will proudly take all the way to the grave. And I will be buried amongst my shiny cardboard as a monument, like a pharaoh.
Oh, the weight in a bloody cardboard, you can make a bloody coffin out of it. We had one question for you guys as we're wrapping up from Broken Arc Faye. Elixar, who is your favourite Pokemon?
It's hard to narrow it down. My go-to answers are Blaziken and Garchomp, but the sleeper pick that I try and pick that isn't just like Gen 4 Sinnoh team most of the time, I think probably comes from Pokemon Unite. That's gotten me into a bunch of Pokemon I wouldn't normally give a shit about. So I actually really like Serena. I couldn't tell you the rest of the names of the Pokemon in that line, because usually I evolve quite quickly. And I like Serena, I like Aegislash from Pokemon Unite. Those are my go-tos generally. I did used to have like a really everyone's Pokemon is someone's favorite at some point, but that's kind of like long since faded. Sinister's the closest one to that. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I'm extremely basic. Charizard since I was a kid. Very much in Yu-Gi-Oh! Blue Eyes White Dragon. Just give me a dragon, I'm a happy man. And then on the other side of this question, for you, Smatt, favourite Digimon?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I don't remember names for all of the Digimon actually. So I've got I have no shame in sharing this because it doesn't exist anymore and you can't get it. My first ever password for my first ever email account when I was 7 years old was Vmon. I absolutely love Vmon. good not Pokemon, Digimon. So fucking, I'm gonna get stabbed. But no, Vmon's fantastic.
They're
but,
both
my love-
monsters. It's just whether they're pocket or digital.
my Digimon cutoff was Digimon Tamers, so I watched the first 3 seasons, and Digimon Tamers was my favorite by far. I love Gilmon.
Tamers was solid.
Terriermon is fantastic. I really like Calimon, Renamon. So basically, the main cast of Tamers for me is fantastic. Wargreymon is really, really cool. And I think there was I can't remember what it's called, but from Digimon movie, it's where Wargreymon and
Omnimon. When he Jogress.
Omnimon is fantastic, and also I've got a lot of love for Imp, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I would be lying if I didn't say that I didn't like Angemon. So.
And we'll put Ash on the spot. Can you even name more than one Digimon?
No, so don't put me on the spot for Digimon. Like Pokemon, fair enough, but yeah. Digimon,
Yeah, just give us your favourite Pokemon then.
I'll answer the one, and because this, I was just sat there kind of like spinning that question around in my head, like, what is my favourite Pokemon? Because it's quite a basic one. I would say Bulbasaur, but I find that my favourite Pokemon is the one I always find that is my go-to, like if I'm just playing for the game. And is it Pangoro? Is Pancham's evolution?
Yeah, that's right.
Pangoro. I just found him just a nice, like, yeah, that he was my guy. He was my guy.
I will
He
say
was my
what I
go-to.
do like about Nuzlocke is it like the card games made me appreciate certain Digimon I didn't give a shit about before. Nuzlocks are definitely the equivalent of that. Where like,
Yeah.
oh, I hyperfixate about this Pokemon now because it saved my ass in a Nuzlocke. Like, Pangoro is like a fantastic pick. My favorite, my wife's favorite Pokemon is Litwick, because she likes Chandelure. Like, she loves that line. But we showed her like every Pokemon. She would never have picked it out. It's from playing a game that had it and then going like, this, I would die for this thing. So yeah, Nuzlocks are a great way to find new Pokemon that you suddenly care about a lot.
And also Pokemon that you absolutely hate. I will never forgive coughing ever.
Coughing.
Coughing makes me so angry. It was a double battle, and the little bastard. Oh, it's a nicer word. Self-destructed. Bye.
The one I will always eat is Electrode. I came across a wild shiny Electrode that exploded itself. Yeah, I'll never forgive Electrodes for killing themselves when they were fucking shiny.
Yep.
But to wrap up the questions, as I mentioned, I'm a Charizard boy. That's simple. But for Digimon, it's Theoboromon. He is, out of all the things, he's the only sort of villain that I gravitate towards. Also, the first deck I built for Digimon TCG, and it cost me less than $20. So I'm pretty happy with how that came.
Boromon's the one from the film, right?
Yeah, the villain.
Yeah, he was sick. Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting new support in the next main set. I am a very, very happy boy. And it's not going to be expensive. He is a rare or less, and I can't be more thankful. But with that, guys, we'll wrap up your Elixar. Any shout-outs you want to make?
Just if you like hearing the sound of me yap, we do it every Saturday or Sunday, providing life events that get in the way. The Misplay for Game podcast. You can find me on Twitch. I don't know if I'm flipped on this one. Yeah, but you can find me on Twitch.
It's under your face.
Same name for YouTube. YouTube's where I do a lot. I try and do as close to daily as I can for uploads. And I have a second channel now that goes over some of my streaming days. It's just KNT Elixir Archive. But yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for...
Yeah, thank you so much for coming out. It's been a blast.
Yeah, happily do it again at some point. But yeah, that's pretty much all from me. You'll keep yelling my name to get me in more regionals as a caster. It definitely works.
Yeah. Anytime we stream anything at Dukes that's big enough, you're definitely going to be getting a message or two. The next one will probably be in the new year, because we are going to be doing a winning item for that £200 fucking PP set. So we're hoping to get a good crowd for that. And Matt, where can the lovely ladies and gentlemen at home find you?
Yeah, sure. And also I would like to shout out all my Pokemon locals, because they're absolutely beautiful, wonderful people. If you want to learn the game, I'd put a shout out to Pumpkin Amy. She does content every Monday, particularly through the Pumpkin Amy Weekly. Shout out to Ark, who's in chat, friendly streamer. As for me, I also stream on Twitch, but I haven't done that much this month because life be lifing, you know, houses, work, this, that, the other. But yeah, you can find me on Twitch at Smatt Plays. You can find me on Twitter because I refuse to call it what it's currently called. Also at Smatt Plays, funnily enough, and also Blue Sky at funnily enough Smatt Plays. If you want a nice little catch up on what Pokemon decks I'm playing, what weird builds I'm doing, what local results there are, you can find me at all of those. And if you like Nintendo and Pokemon related stuff, then yeah, that's my Twitch. I'll be back I say I'll be back shortly. I give it a couple of weeks and I'll be getting back into a regular schedule. And yeah, massive thanks for having me on again. And Elixar has
Always great to have
made
you.
yourself a fan, so you know, thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
And Ash, where can we find you?
Oh, we're going to avoid saying it as well. So Twitter, not X. We're not going to call it X, clearly. So, yep, Knowing0250. Yep, that's, and of course, Within Crisis, being our Twitch channel. So, if you want to get in touch with me, that is that. But, yeah, trying to get back into gaming. Life has kind of been in the forefront, so that could take a bit of a backseat for the time being.
Yeah. And as for myself, you can find us here at Twitch at Within Crisis, over on YouTube at Within Crisis Podcast, on socials usually at Within Crisis. I can't think of any off the top of my head that doesn't have at Within Crisis. I could be wrong. It's been a while since we've done shout-outs. But otherwise, the next stream for the channel will be tomorrow with more Final Fantasy XIV reading with my Full Source regroup. We're getting close to killing M5S. Will it happen? Will it won't? Only one way to find out. And our next podcast episode should be coming out in a couple of weeks. We have Duke of Duke's Gaming coming on, talking about what it's like to actually own and operate a game store. So until next time, folks, take care. Bye-bye.
Yes.
See ya.
Wait.